All right, back at it again. What's going on? It's Chris Shatek along with Lauren Howman and Matt Gardiner.
Hello,
And
hello.
good to see you all, or if you're listening, good to have you with us here today. Another episode of Freedom from Alcohol. By the way, we have a Facebook group by the same name. If you're not a part of it, come join us. Freedom from Alcohol. Just search for it on Facebook. It's completely private, by the way, so your friends and family aren't going to see what you're posting. It's a wonderful community of others in there who are in the same boat that you are, whether it's people that are already alcohol free, people that are, you know, trying to get alcohol free, people that are maybe just curious about it. But the support in there is amazing. So, if you're listening to this and you're going, I don't know anybody, nobody else understands like what's going on in my head with how this drinking is affecting me. I can't talk to my husband about it, my wife about it, because they don't get it. We get it. So come join us over there because it's a wonderful place. And then we also have our clients. We work with people one on one. We do group coaching. There's all sorts of stuff that we help people with to get over alcohol and really live a great life. So you can contact us if you're interested in that as well. But today, what we want to talk about, and this is something that we help our clients with, is the importance of having a plan when you are making the decision to go alcohol free, why it's important to have a plan so you know what the hell you're doing. And this could mean many different things as far as having a plan of like, okay, I want to stop drinking. What does that look like? Are you going to be completely alcohol free? Are you going to stop for 30 days? Are you going to stop for 90 days? Are you going to go for a year? Are you just going to become a non-drinker? you know, figuring out what that looks like and how you're going to go about it. Are you going to white knuckle it? Are you going to just try to use willpower? You're going to read quit lit books? Are you going to join some online communities? Maybe you're going to do coaching. Maybe you're going to work with somebody like ourselves. Maybe you're going to go to AA, figuring out, okay, here's what I'm going to do and stick to it.
Mhm.
And then as far as also, what is the plan if you are going to go out somewhere, right? If you're going to go to a party and you're early on in your alcohol free journey, what does that look like? What if somebody puts a drink in your hand that doesn't know that you're alcohol free? What are you going to do? What if somebody offers you a drink? What if you feel like I got to get the hell out of here? So it's really important to have a plan because otherwise it's so easy to get caught off guard and so easy to
Mhm.
slip back into our old patterns if you're just kind of going into this thing blind. And Matt, I know you've had that happen, right? Where you didn't have a plan in the past.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd say, like, well, I guess my plan was to be fairly secretive about it, right? Like I was very picky and choosy, that I was omitting details because there was some shame involved, right? So I was very, very, I wasn't being as protective as I could have been. And I'll give the example. I'd been 3 years, a little over 3 years, alcohol free, and I ended up going to a friend's wedding, and I was a groomsman. So it was definitely one of these weddings where exactly what you were just talking about, Chris. They were literally just inundating the wedding table that we're sitting at with drinks. Like even the coffee, I'm like, oh, finally a drink I can drink, right? The coffee comes up, it's got Kahlua in it, right? I'm just like, oh man, like every time I'm turning around, there's like beers and getting placed in front of me, and I wasn't being protective over it. Going, I wasn't doing when we're talking about the plan, I wasn't like thinking beforehand, I'm like, how am I going to navigate this? I'm gonna be. Part of it perhaps was that, like, I wanted that door open, just a little bit of a crowd. They're still kind of curious if I could go back up. That's a whole nother story. But the point being is, like, because I wasn't being upfront about it, and I didn't plan beforehand, hey, I'm going to be like, hey, I'm not drinking, or whatever, however it came up to me. I'm the designated driver, I'm driving tonight, whatever I needed to say at that time, I did not equip myself with. And as a result, that was actually where I had my first slip up in 3 years and 3 months. And it was right at the end of the night. I was doing my best to sort of pretend like I was drinking, or I was like, pushing the beer, offering it to other people, doing shots, throwing them over my shoulder, watering the plant behind me, doing all these pretty like high risk things, like getting very close, playing with fire, if you will. And then by the end of the night, I finally had a shot. It was like midnight. I was so close to the finish line, right? I was like, we talk about hitting the fuck it button. I finally did.
Yep.
And dude, it was like instantaneous, the brain chemistry and everything that happened. And I was like, man, old Matt came back. I was like, part of me was like, how did this happen? So I say that to say, I really didn't have an effective plan. I was very sort of ambiguous with the way I was going about my alcohol free journey at that point. And it was actually kind of a surprise that I got that far with that sort of ambiguity behind my plan. And so what I've learned from that, of course, now is to be much more firm and binary as far as like, no, I'm a non-drinker, right? Because I know where that can lead if I don't stick to that particular plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, that brings up a great point too, the ambiguity of it. And I think a lot of people, myself included, before, when I would try to stop drinking, is I wasn't being fully honest about it. I was leaving the door open a little bit, like, yeah, maybe someday if I get a hold of this thing, then I can take it or leave it. I wasn't wanting to shut the door, and I wasn't being truthful with my friends and family about just how much alcohol was fucking me up, and
Yeah,
how I just didn't want it in my life. Because, part of that, like you said, a little bit of shame and all this kind of stuff. And you just don't want to go down that road. But it makes a big difference, I've noticed, when you just take ownership of it. You shift your identity to, no, I'm just a non-drinker, and feel proud of that, feel confident in it.
yeah.
And, if somebody offers you a drink, you say, nope, I'm not a drinker. I don't like the way it makes me feel. And just kind of leave it at that, as opposed to dancing around the subject.
Yeah,
Because what is that doing, right? We're purposefully leaving that door open. And I think then there's this confusion that kind of comes in.
definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I am much more confident with that now, and competent. I think it's gotten a lot more accepting, because I was talking, that was 2015 where I'd had that slip up, and man, it's come a long way, even in the last 3-4 years, right? It's coming out of the
Yeah.
pandemic years. It's a lot more accepted. People are a lot more curious, instead of, almost kind of like mocking you, or being like, you're the odd duck if you're not drinking, right? At these types of events. It's getting a lot more steam, isn't it? This whole like alcohol-free movement. So I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in my own skin in events where I'm like, I don't feel, I have this perception that I'm like the only one that's not drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Lauren? Did you have any sort of plan, or what did you do when you
You
stopped?
know, something that just popped up for me as I'm listening to you guys is that a lot of people, the first time they have to say no to a drink is the first time they've had to address it publicly.
Mm,
And you haven't even thought about what you're going to say. And this is the first time, like if I'm at a wedding and people don't even know that I'm a non-drinker now, or that I may have had a problem with alcohol being a problem drinker, whatever you want to call it. If I go to this place unprepared, and then I'm like, oh no, thank you. And they're looking at me like, well, like your whole personality is wine. Why are you not drinking? Now it's the first time I'm even admitting publicly that there was a problem that I'm rectifying. So that can be really a lot for somebody too, because I'm like, hey, no, I'm not drinking. And they're like, what? You always drink. What's going
mm,
on? And now I
mm.
have to figure out, am I going to lie? Am I going to tell some story, or am I going to tell the truth? And how much truth do I need to say in that? So um, it still catches me by surprise, because it's not a big part of my life anymore. But when somebody's like, hey, you want to drink? And I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. And they want to question it. It's like I'm not mentally prepared to answer it, because to me, it's just a non issue at this point. But I know for newer people in, so I know that's kind of off topic a little bit, but plan wise, yeah, you got to have a plan. What are you going to say? And what are you gonna drink instead? And how are you gonna get the F out of there if it gets to be too much? Like, please don't tell me that you don't have a car. Like, take your own car. You're not going to be drinking, so we can get you out of there pretty quickly. So I don't know if I really answered your question, but that was what came to mind for me.
Well, it's nice too. You can always get the hell out of there. You don't have to worry about a cop pulling you over or DUI.
Yeah,
Isn't that a nice feeling?
yeah,
That is.
yeah. Driving in the middle of the night without any thought that you might be doing it wrong, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting is having a plan, figuring it out. And everybody's going to be a little bit different, right? I think you have to know what is going to trigger you, what is going to pull you back into that moment of like, oh my God, I need to drink. So like if you're going to go to a party and you feel like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for this, like I'm just going to be tempted, I don't feel like explaining my whole story, it's okay to just skip the party, right?
Just
Just
don't
don't go
go.
to it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
This is all about you. You got to make yourself the priority here.
Mhm.
And so that could be part of your plan too. Like maybe I just need to avoid going to the bar for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, whenever I feel comfortable.
Mhm.
Maybe I need to not hang out with my drinking buddies for a little bit because I'm going to be tempted. It's that old saying of like, if you hang out in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get your freaking haircut, right? So it's like, you know you better than anybody else knows you, and everybody's a little bit different. But, this time around when I quit, because I had stopped before, but again, I never had a plan. I just was kind of like, well, let's see what happens. And that always brought me back because there was no long-term thinking there, right? But so this time I was like, I really want to prove to myself that I'm done with this. And so what I did, and this may not be for everybody, but it may be for you, is I said, I'm going to throw myself into the fire. I'm not going to sit here and dick around with this and whatever. So I went out for with my friends. You guys, I've told this story before, but it was my buddy's birthday, and they're all drinkers, and that's all we used to do together. Right? We'd go out, and we'd drink. And so I'm like, I could either say, no, I'm not going to go out with my friends and celebrate the birthday, but I'm like, no, I want to go. I want to prove to myself. So I did. Not only did we drink, or did they drink, but we went to a casino. And I used to have a gambling problem too. Gambling and me, it doesn't really go together. So they're like, let's go to a casino. They're going to drink. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go. And I purposefully went because I wanted to know, could I do this? And I had a plan, like, right, if it got too bad, I was just going to bounce. But I went, and I had a really good time. The whole time knowing, like, man, I'm going to feel really good about myself tomorrow when I went to a place with my friends who are drinking, and I didn't drink, and I did it, and I didn't die, and everything is okay. I wanted to do that to prove it to myself. And it was amazing because I was even buying my friends drinks, right? Carrying them to them. And it wasn't like, oh man, this sucks. It was like empowering to go, yeah, I don't need this. Cause you watch them go from being alcohol free and normal to a little bit drunker. And you see, okay, that's how I used to be. And so I don't suggest that for everybody, but one of the things that I really have learned about myself and, going on a journey of like discovering who the hell I am is like facing the shit that I don't want to face has helped me so much more than like avoiding it. Right. So it's like, if you have a fear of like, I don't know if I can go to the bar, I don't know if I can go do this, maybe try throwing yourself into it. Again, if you have a plan and it does get too much, you can always bounce, you can always go out. And that is, again, not for everybody, but I think, sometimes it's okay to challenge yourself. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm hearing like, the anticipation, I think, is a lot more anxiety inducing than the actual experience, right? And time again that happens. The longer you leave certain things like this, the more they'll build up in your head, and the energy of like the let's face it, alcohol for me anyways was a huge avoidance mechanism. So trying to outgrow that, you know what I mean, that doesn't serve me anymore, this whole avoidance pattern that I have. So what better way to do that than exactly what you say, just go to your first concert sober, again, like you say, with a plan. And it doesn't have to be as complex. In fact, it's probably better if you just have, okay, what am I going to say to people? When am I going to leave? Make sure I'm driving. Boom, there you go. It's like three simple things. And to your point, the North Star is I'm going to feel great tomorrow morning, and then just leave it at that, right? And go do it, experience it. And, I every time I did that, I felt so much lighter and so much more myself in a different way. I'm like, man, okay, it was kind of like the moon landing moment. If I can go to like a Tool concert and not drink and then feel great the next morning, I can do, fill in the blank. I can certainly do anything else at that point.
Yeah, because I think it's important to stack some wins. You're proving to yourself, okay, I can do this. I can go to a concert. I can do something that I used to always do while drinking and be okay with it. And the more you do that, the more you like, it doesn't become this thing of the unknown, right? It's like, okay, I did it and I survived. Now let's do another thing. And the more you do it, the more it doesn't become this scary, like, oh, can I, can't I?
Right.
Just throw yourself into the fire,
Totally.
So, yeah.
If you're brand new though, and it's going to trigger you, and you're going to end up drinking, maybe not throw yourself into the fire so soon. But so what would you guys say the plan is? You got to have a plan. So the plan is have a way out, know what you're going to say to people when they ask you why you're not drinking. What are you going to drink? What's going to be in hand?
Right. What's going to be available? And if not, are you bringing something of your own, a non-alcoholic drink? Yeah.
Really good one. Yeah.
And is there anything else on that list of things that you want to be ready for? Knowing what you're going to say to people, knowing how you're going to get out of there if you need to, knowing what you're going to drink, and anything else?
That's a big three. That's really good, Lauren. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. The escape plan specifically, like it's okay to do the Irish goodbye. We always talk.
I was going to say, I'm glad you. I love the Irish goodbye, man. I got Irish heritage, so I come back naturally,
So do
Well,
I.
and
Yep.
explain for people who don't know what that is, Matt. Explain what that is.
So yeah, it's got you just sort of leave, right? So instead of having this huge grandeur and saying goodbye to everybody, and then they have the chance to be like, no, you're leaving already, and no, one more drink, blah, 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 all that stuff, you just sort of leave. You go to the bathroom and you don't come back. You know what I mean? It's like,
Sneak
yeah, so
out. Yep.
it's great.
Don't feel guilty about it. It's like, yeah, that I even did that. I've done that for most of my life because I'm from Minnesota. And they call it the Minnesota goodbye there, where people like, all right, I'm leaving. And then 30 minutes later, you're still saying goodbye to people. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm just bouncing. It was like, where did you go the next day? Like, I just left. I had to get out of there. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, so it just really is important, guys. If you're going to go through this process, to just have a plan, make it something that makes sense to you, understand what is going to trigger you and what you're going to do if that comes up. And just, it's going to help you so much. And I think that's what gets people tripped up is they just kind of just do this without really having any sort of plan. And sometimes I think that might be by design. At least it was for me, because I'm like, okay, then I could just fall back on it. It's like, if something happens, okay, I'm back to it. But I didn't set a plan in place. So I'm not really breaking my plan, sort of deal. So if you're listening to this, you're going, yeah, you know what? I'm going to hold myself accountable by putting a plan in place and sticking to it. I think it could be super, super beneficial.
Absolutely.
And then every time you do something and you stick to it, you're going to empower yourself to move further and further. Because honestly, I said this recently on a client Zoom, I think with the community, I didn't think I could go like 3 days without drinking. So like, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, that first week, I was like, wow, how is this even possible? Because I hadn't ever been able to string that amount of time together before. But every time I did something new that was scary and unknown, because I was now not drinking in regular life with everything going on, I got myself built up. Every time we complete a task and we're like, dang, I just went to a wedding and it was actually fun. And I danced. I'm able to dance sober, or not drinking. I'm able to have conversations with people I don't know without drinking. And you're starting to relearn how to be a human again without this crutch. So you get like you're just building yourself up with each item that you do, as long as you go into it with a plan.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Yes. All right. We'll wrap it up there today, guys. Appreciate it. Any feedback, comments, leave it for us here. Again, the Freedom from Alcohol Facebook group is a great place to interact with all of us. I am at Coach by Chris on social media. Lauren, how can people find you on like TikTok and Facebook and everything like that?
I'm Lauren HOWMAN 79 on TikTok, Instagram. Facebook is Lauren Rutledge HOWMAN. You can find me in the group. They're real easy, and send me a friend request or send me a message. So find me in the Freedom from Alcohol group or on TikTok. Matt?
Yeah, same for me. Reach out to me in the Facebook group as well. And I'm at recoveryroadmap.me on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. And the thing is, if you're listening to this, you're like, yeah, I dig what they're saying. I need to have a plan. I need to have some coaching to go along with this, because we help people not just stay away from alcohol, not just, okay, you're a non-drinker and alcohol's bad. No, we help you get your life back and lose the desire for alcohol, so that you just genuinely don't want it. You're not feeling deprived or miserable, but you go, you know what? God, I'm so grateful that I got this monkey off my back and I can move forward with my life. And we've seen it with our clients over and over again. We have a 96% success rate. I want to say that again because I love it. 96% success rate of the people that work with us have changed their relationship with alcohol and now are loving themselves and loving their lives. And it really does work. So if you are interested in working with us, you can go to coachbychris.com and just set up a free call with myself. We'll let you know how it goes. We want to understand too your situation and know, like, are we the right fit for you, and are you the right fit for us? Because we only let really awesome people into our community because we're very passionate about the people that we work with. So yeah, schedule a call and we'd love to work with you. So all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you all for joining us today on Freedom from Alcohol. We will catch you next time.
See ya.
Thanks, everybody.